Okay, we're live.
All right, very good.
So we'll just edit this one part out.
Yeah.
So feel free to start however you like.
All right. Good afternoon. I'm Phil Toffel. I'm managing partner of Sage Hill Family Office out of Saratoga Springs, New York, and Delray Beach, Florida now. I'm here today with Dr. Craig Spodak, who is the founder of Spodak Dental Group in Delray Beach, Florida. Afternoon, Craig.
Good afternoon.
Good to see you.
Good to be here, Phil. Thank you.
Good to see you in a venue other than the gym.
Yeah.
And frankly, other than in the dental chair, as much as
Yeah.
a great experience as it is here at Spodak Dental.
Yeah, you don't want me working on you right now, that's for sure.
Not at the moment.
This
no.
is easier.
You bet.
Yeah.
You bet. I've gotten to know Craig quite well, directly, mainly at the gym, but also through my wife, who happened to find a position here at Spodak Dental Group last fall when we got a place here in Delray Beach, which has been just robust. And I want to talk about that a little bit, but I want to spend about the next 20 minutes focusing on Craig and his family business and the issue of sustainability. So the agenda and what you can look forward to hearing over the next 20 minutes in our casual discussion, which frankly is not scripted other than the topic itself. And when I talk about sustainability, I find that to be a very important theme for very successful family business owners, of whom Craig is certainly one. And sustainability, as opposed to the nuts and bolts of me being a tax lawyer, my partner being an economist, we don't call ourselves the Toffel Law Group or Sage Hill Financial Group for a reason. It's Sage Hill Family Office because the real differentiator that I totally believe in, having done this for over 30 years, is not just the quality of trusts. It's not just the quality of the financial analyses and execution and delivery. I think that it's not only me thinking this, it's smarter people than me in the family business world, that the relationships that the patriarch or matriarch of a family business have with family, in the business and outside of the business, with the community, with philanthropy, with the employees, is really the sustaining factor, the key sustaining factor that enables family enterprises to be sustainable. And the numbers don't lie. When you see the analyses of family businesses with enterprise value starting at 25 million and going up to well over $1 billion of enterprise value, 30% remain through second generation, 12% through third generation. And there's good reasoning for that. And it's not about the tax law toolbox I may carry. It's not about the financial toolbox. It's really about the qualitative factors, and that's why we're here today. So, you know, when I first met you, Craig, and was introduced to Spodak Dental Group, it was last October when Heather and I first moved down here. And Heather was going to be a temp in terms of being a dental assistant. And she's been doing this for 27 years and has some great experiences, but we were new to the area and relationships. And you were, at that time, you had an event on a given day prior to Veterans Day where you were serving veterans without charge for a complete day for their dental needs. Yeah. And Heather got wind of that and said, boy, I'd love to get involved. And she called, she spoke with Erica, she volunteered, she was welcomed in, and she spent the day with you and Erica and Tiffany Dudley and your team here, and just was
I remember that.
Astounded.
I remember you guys coming in.
Yeah.
Weren't she there as well, or I met you after?
You met me after.
Okay,
but you met Heather first, and then she said, you really have to see this group, because she was invited in by Erica, who, fortunately, you guys really liked Heather and you liked the quality of what she was doing. And when I first walked in the door, and you actually gave me a tour.
I remember that.
And I went back to my business partner and several others, and totally outside of the dental field. And I said, the experience I just had, forget what business they're in, but the quality of their relationships with their patients, with the employees among one another, with the environment. When you see this operation, forget what business they're in or practice they're in, it's robust. And if I had a firm of this size, I would want my firm to have the qualities that this firm has.
Thank you.
Yeah, I totally mean it, and it's been a
believe
wonderful experience for Heather and for me to be a patient.
Thank you.
And to vicariously live it with Heather. So, Craig, what inspired you to have a dream, have a vision of this practice? Not only physically, the physical plant is robust, but also the whole environment with employees, with community. You and I have never talked about this, but you clearly have a vision and you have a passion.
Yeah.
Where did it start? How did it start?
Well, to your statistic about 3 generations, I am a 3rd generation dentist. My enterprise value is not of the size that you had said, between 25 million and 1 billion. But I grew up in a family of dentistry, and I always got a chance to see the long-term relationships that being a dentist in a community fosters. You get to see patients, sometimes over 20, 30 years. So I recognize that the relationships are, the paramount to a successful practice. But I also, we wanted to retain and attract the best team members. And there's a saying in business that the customer's always right. And if the customer's always right, that means if a team member makes the customer upset, that the team member's wrong. So I started reading a lot of books, from Richard Branson and Tim Collins and all these different business authors about different ways to run businesses. And I came across one book. It was by Tony Hsieh, the CEO of Zappos, former CEO of Zappos. Actually still the current CEO, but Bezos acquired Zappos. And he wrote a book called Delivering Happiness. And it was about how happiness affects the bottom line. And that if you're happy and your team is happy and aligned, not only will you be happier yourself, but your patients will be happier, your company will do better. So it was very intentional to curate a positive relationship and rapport with everybody that we have here. So a person that's looking to do business with a dental practice can't readily determine whether or not the quality of the dentistry is as good as it should be. And that's really unfortunate, because if people were able to discern the quality of the dentistry that they were getting beyond just they're nice and they're not hurting me, we'd be meteorically successful. But patients don't know. They just know that this is a nice guy and people seem to be, they're not hurting me and they seem to be nice. So I recognized early on that the perceived value, the things that you talked about, the experience was going to be very important going forward into the practice of the future. So I set out to have an inspiring team, an inspiring facility, do something bigger than just, repair our teeth and give people smiles. I wanted to be, a sustainable building that was involved in the community, that was inspirational, that was iconic. And you spoke about a vision. I wrote out very carefully what I call a descriptive vision in 2008. So in 2008, I had 5 employees, and I wrote out very carefully what a day in the future is going to be like. I wrote it in the first person as if it already happened. So I wrote it's Tuesday for that matter, and I wake up and I do this, and this is what it looks like, and I walk to my office, or I drive to my office, I walk in the front door, and here is Joanne, my director of first impressions, and I'm greeting people, and this is what it looks like and smells like and feels like. So it was crafted out of nothing, but it was very specific and detailed, as if it already happened. And it resonated with me. I rewrote it several times during that week until I liked it, and it was a true expression of what I wanted to create. And then I kind of filed it away and started chipping away at, building a building and designing a team, and what type of services would we offer, and how would the team feel about their job, and how would they go home at the end of the night feeling. So it was very carefully curated, and funny enough, I didn't reread that descriptive vision for possibly 2 or 3 years, and I went to a business consultant that gave me a whole bunch of advice, and the advice didn't feel right to me. So I decided to pull out the descriptive vision again. And when I read the descriptive vision, it actually brought me to tears, because it was like a North Star for me. It was like this internal compass of where my soul wanted to go, where I wanted to express myself. And it was very personal. And I think that if you're motivated by something larger than profit, if you're motivated by something that's bigger than yourself or your own space, and maybe to shape or influence an industry or shape or influence other people's lives, it's a more resounding why. And that will be the fuel to withstand the whats and the hows and the setbacks. Because there's so many setbacks I've gone through, and I continue to go through massive setbacks, even today, setbacks. So if you have this resounding purpose that you can rely back upon, that's the fuel that's going to propel it for generations. The thing that you called robust, because it doesn't stand on a leg, it stands on many.
Yeah, and you mentioned the why, and you and I have at least alluded to that point a few times, or both being followers a bit of Simon Sinek,
awesome guy,
on TED Talks, and at least that's where I've seen him talk. And a lot of people talk about the how, talk about the what, talk about the why, and this is not Pollyanna stuff. I mean,
well, Wall Street's not interested in why; they're interested in the profit. A lot of PE, a lot of large private equity firms are not interested in your why. They're interested about a return, and oftentimes a very quick return. What's it going to do in 2 years so we can flip this or trim the profit? So I think as a whole, on a macro level, we've all lost our why, but the public hasn't. The public is compelled by stories. That's why you have products that are selling very well, like Tom's shoes, or these companies that are being founded by mompreneurs. They have this compelling story about how they're at home and they needed to invent something. So the public is, the most compelling thing in the human, that's programmed into our human brain, is the story. We're all that's why we can sit through a 2-hour movie and get lost in it. Human beings can go deep into story. Story is one of our oldest ways of bonding with each other, and I think the story about anything is most important. That's the why. Your why is your story.
I totally agree, and it's as I say, it's not Pollyanna when the why translates into action, into what your group does, or I would like to say what my group does. When it translates into there's an issue, and you think about how can I solve this and make this a positive experience for your patient, for our client. That's the why, as far as I'm concerned. Do you agree?
Totally.
It has to translate and not just be an advertisement, with a movie star talking about it.
Well, there's two. I have a quote. I think I wrote it. I don't know. I can't remember anymore, but I like to say it's my own. I say there's two things you can do. You can either pay someone to craft a compelling story about you, which is just crafted, not really true, or you can be remarkable enough that people are willing to talk about you. So either way, I mean, advertising is really, at this point, almost dead. There's Minion stickers or Despicable Me stickers on the bananas I buy for my children. We get marketing messages everywhere. Mm-hmm. Our laptop computers have Apple logos, and it used to be that you need to hear something 7 times before, going to act on something. Now it's up at 18 and 20. So the noise is so great that I think that if you don't have a compelling why that's readily understood by people and why it's good for them, that you're not going to be relevant.
Yep. Yeah, in my experience anyway, with people like yourself, successful people, forget the numbers, forget the enterprise value or what have it, you're a successful practice. You're clearly, as far as I can see, the most robust practice in quality and size and breadth that at least I witness in South Florida. So I'm not here to falsely flatter you or anything. That's what I perceive. And so at the end of the day, I think when, in my opinion, and what I've observed, when successful family business owners, forget the industry for the moment, have commitments to going deep in terms of acknowledgement of issues within the family as it interconnects with the family business, with the community, doing things for the community, for philanthropy, for employees. It does translate into the why, but all of these people, when I step back from things, away from trusts and financials and everything else, these people are stakeholders in the sustainability of a given business. And truly stakeholders, we can translate that in terms of employees, right?
No, that makes sense to me, stakeholder versus employee.
Yeah?
Yeah.
As well as community.
Yeah.
Because community, if you do things right, you give back, community gives back as well. They'll gravitate as patients or clients. And not that you always have to have that agenda, but it happens.
Right,
it does happen. Right?
It's the unintended, it's not necessarily the intended consequence. If your goal is to help people, people will resonate with, your motive, and it will create a halo effect for your business. Just in the same way that you're guilty by association if something wayward happens.
Yep.
It's unfortunate, but human beings are judgment machines. You're guilty or you're either good or bad by proxy.
Yep, you bet. And the big one, and it's why we use the terminology family office, the big one is family, in my experience anyway. A difference maker in that when you have a business, and you've taken it from 5 employees to how many today?
Oh God, I think 60.
60 in 10 years.
Yeah.
In a a very volatile economic environment.
Yeah.
2008 was troublesome for every.
That was my favorite time.
Industry.
To be honest with you, that was actually my favorite time. I always like when the winter, when the seasons of economics, I always get more confident and feel more that there's more opportunity when times are dark. It's tough when times are good because everybody's got resources and money, and it doesn't allow your competitive edge to shine as much. But that's
interesting. Yeah,
that's a whole other tangent.
That's right. That's a deeper conversation. In my practice, that's very true because the world is confused and they need direction.
Right.
Now
everybody's a rock star right now because the markets are booming.
Right. You can throw darts at the Wall Street Journal right now.
And they'll do great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who needs seasoned people like you when the S&P is rising?
Yeah. You just pile up the money.
Exactly.
But in your practice, to a large degree, it's discretionary capital that people are using for. In my mouth alone, I have had a lot of cosmetic dental work and so forth, and I'm proud of it.
That's good.
But it's not cheap, and it's disposable capital and disposable income that paid for that, right? You do have certain people with insurance, but to a large degree, a lot of the work is not, right?
Yeah.
So it's interesting for me to hear what you just said in terms of the troublesome times are times that you relish because people don't have as much disposable capital in those times.
Well, it's more related to the dental industry. Dentists in general tend to be myopic creatures. Our successes and failures are in micromillimeters, so they don't have broader vision. So during the economically depressed times, we were able to expand through acquisition and the noise, the advertisements. Dentists will tend to pull back a lot. They're a little bit more reactive during those times. So we find our marketing dollars can go further, and that was the case in the first crash.
And perhaps in building the structure as well. I
secured this building during, not the building, but the land in a crash.
Yeah. I
offered the guy money in 2005. He told me to fly a kite, and I offered him half in 2008, and it sold.
Yeah.
So. There's seasons in every economy, and I don't know what you'd identify this as, but we've had an exuberant and lengthy bull market for some time now with no real correction. So I would imagine this is the harvest time. This is where everybody thinks that everything's great. This is we all know there's seasons.
Well, there are, and again, that's another topic as well. But I'm blessed to have an economist who's a very good one as a partner who knows how to hedge these situations well. But that's a separate advertisement for a different day.
I'll talk to him next.
Fair enough. It's worked well, but it's also it feeds into the why. and not just piling up money when times are good and then chipping it off when times are bad. But I mentioned family, and you know, you're younger than I am. How old are you, Craig?
I'm 46. I'll be 47 in August.
47. And I know your children are young. I've met them.
5 and 8.
Yeah. But the reason I mentioned, I'm not sure if this is something that you'd like to speak to, but the reason I put a capital F on family in terms of the qualitative factors that go into sustainable family businesses is that, you know, your daughter might want to be a dentist, might want to be involved in the practice. Your son, Gavin?
Yes.
Gavin, may not. He may go off and be an investment banker in Manhattan or something.
Sounds good to me.
Support you in the lifestyle to which which you deserve, but who knows? And that's very common in my world.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of family in the business, family outside of the business, common questions of how does fair mean equal in terms of what my legacy may be, and there's a difference between legacy and estate planning, and so legacy is more than family usually.
Yeah.
If you're Warren Buffett, one would say, well, I want to enable my children to do anything but not nothing.
Right.
You know, and that's a common theme that we're oftentimes involved in. It has to, again, when we talk about the why, that has to translate and transcend into the detail. The trusts and so forth have to reflect that particular philosophy. People's philosophies are very different. Warren Buffett has one, and you have one, and I have one, and everyone else has their own. But it has to be thoughtful, and that's my point with people. Whatever that legacy means has to be thoughtful, because dentistry will presumably always be here as an industry. In many other industries, the family enterprise may change.
Of course.
We have people who are very large Yum Brands franchisees who own hundreds of Taco Bells.
Yeah.
When I'm at that family meeting, oftentimes they'll say, 25 years from now, this may not be a food service company. It may be a technology company.
Yeah.
And the next generation of family may do something very different. But the enterprise, the philosophy of the enterprise to give back, to provide a base for family, for medical, for education, for other things, which was founded with you, the person who really built this business and built this enterprise. You've created something that can really empower people, not entitle, and actually have sustainability. All that hard work and passion and sweat and equity that has been built is much bigger than us.
Yeah.
And
well, I should hope so.
in my opinion. And some people don't have that philosophy, and that's okay. That the estate planning joke being that the perfect estate plan being that the last check bounces.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
That's a philosophy, and like I always say, it's your money and it's your life. But as long as the philosophy is thoughtful, it deserves to be thoughtful when you spend so much energy building an enterprise. And if you really care about it and care about the stakeholders, because other people are going to be impacted by what that philosophy is.
Yeah.
So, in your work with community, and I've witnessed that obviously. What are some of the things that you have done for people watching this? I'm familiar with them, but some of the things you have done, and why you've done them.
Well, our philanthropic endeavors started off actually with Dr. Dudley 8-9 years ago. We identified what our culture's about. We identified a set of agreements that we wished to uphold, and one of them was to be charitable. And we went on a rooftop with Habitat for Humanity and started smacking nails into the roof as a bunch of dentists with our precious hands. And the woman that we were building the house for had a tremendous toothache, and we realized there was a massive underserved population of people that are in pain that don't have access to care. So that started off maybe 8 or 9 years ago with our free dental days. So we used to open up our office once or twice a year for free dentistry. And that parlayed into me being a board member for Freedom Day USA, which is the veterans charity that you were describing. And then John Carlos Stanton, he's now a Yankee. He is the highest paid athlete in the history of sports.
Yeah, Red Sox fan, so I'm
It's okay. I'm sorry, because once he gets in his groove, you guys are going to be in trouble. But anyway, not to digress. He became a patient. He got hit with a 95-mile-an-hour fastball, broke his teeth. He was sent to me because we have the equipment to make teeth in a single day, as you have availed yourself of. And we became friendly from that, and he signed this $350 million contract, and part of the stipulation of his contract was he had to donate to a charity. And John Carlo is a very unique guy. He doesn't want to just jump on anything, so he called me and said, let's make a charity together. And we did. It's All Star Smiles charity, allstarsmiles.org. It's a 501c3. And our mission is to eradicate children's dental pain. It's the number one reason why a child will visit the emergency room, or the number one reason why a child will miss school is because of dental pain. So we created a charity to eradicate that. And then we also have a program within the office. I don't know if Heather mentioned it to you, but if anybody donates to a 501c3 up to $500, I match their donation dollar for dollar. So as long as it makes the world a better place, I'll match it. And speaking of that why, we do have this overarching why. It's called our noble cause. The noble cause is to make the world a better place with the power of compassion. So everything we do is designed around that noble cause in order to in some way leave the world a better place.
Yeah,
So.
very cool. And you know, it's a bit of a segue, but it comes to my mind, and it's of course unnamed, but I know you have an employee here who's struggling medically.
Yeah.
And that you have at least put it out there to employees if they want to donate some of their, I believe, vacation time or money. You're matching that.
Yeah, dollar for dollar.
Personally.
Yeah, personally.
So I understand.
Yeah.
Which you're walking the walk.
Yeah,
and,
thank you. And we've done a GoFundMe as well. We raised $14,000 for her, and we've done several things like that. When Betty had a spleen injury, we all came in. She was on the table, on an operating table in Bridge of Virgin Islands, and she was losing blood. And I called an air ambulance, this medical evacuation, mobile hospital basically, to secure her, to take her out should she need it. So I mean, it's just about, speaking of Simon Sinek, and to come full circle with that, Simon Sinek just wrote a new book. It's not so new anymore, it's over a year old, but it's a fantastic book. It's called Leaders Eat Last. And a wonderful book about
You gave that to Heather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a leadership book, and it really, leadership is about putting other people's needs before your own, and the idea that by doing that, by being that level of leader, that you inspire other leaders. And I think the days of business is run in a hierarchy, based on a feudal system of I'm the boss, I have a gun, I could fire you. That doesn't work anymore. There's been a shift in culture. There's been a shift in the employee. They think differently. The millennials, I'm sure many of your clients are groaning about millennials and they don't have the same work ethic. But statistics show that they actually do. They work really hard and they work really well, provided they're working for something larger than themselves.
I totally agree. My son's a millennial. He's 22, graduating from college next month.
Good.
And he and I have had this conversation a lot. And I know that that has translated into some of the things that some employers do these days, in that, for example, their provision for vacation time in some organizations is unlimited.
Yeah.
And what they have found is that the good millennials, the really good employees, the passionate employees, take less time than they probably would have otherwise.
Yeah,
or
flexible work environments, you work harder.
Yeah, because they're passionate, because they see the vision. And so not only being a proud parent, but hopefully being someone who likes to believe he thinks a little bit deeper about things. I don't complain about millennials. I think they have a lot to contribute and make us all better. This is a bit of a tangent, but I think we're actually making a turn in terms of industry generally. I hope I'm right, that having been through different times when people used to work for a paycheck and a pension, and then transcending into an environment where there has been very little loyalty between employer and employee. I like to believe it's going in a bit of a direction where there's a real partnership there, and it's not just about stock options and restricted stock. It translates into the why in terms of having a common purpose and people doing things like you did and sending an air ambulance to a valued employee who was in need. That goes well beyond business.
Yeah.
So if we can start to wrap up, at least for today, Craig,
Sure.
I'd love to continue this conversation either on tape or otherwise, but in terms of employees as stakeholders, are there other things that come to mind, that you've instilled here for your employees?
A distributed decision-making process where it's not a top-down environment, it's a very flat org structure, and we require people to think and behave like adults, which is very paradox in the work environment. People are responsible human beings in their private lives, and somehow they get to work. It's like, what do I do? Tell me what I need to do. Can I go to the bathroom? Can I take a break? How do I resolve this issue? And we're trying to get people's brains to turn back on, to redefine work, saying, think about what this could be. And a distributed decision is basically, you could see this problem that exists, and being that you're at this position, you might have a better understanding of this problem. You need to go run to a manager to help you figure it out. So, you have an ability to kind of decipher and figure out this problem and how it's going to affect other people. And, not cram it down their throats like the manager would, but get some consensus and work through and execute the decision. So that's something that kind of transitions from employee to stakeholder.
Oh, no doubt in my mind. And I, of course, through my wife, I've witnessed that. And I think I'm sure it has challenges at times,
It does.
but I think for the most part, what I witness just in everyday life and in business and so forth, so many different organizations, of which Sage Hill is not one, so many organizations just dumb it down.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you have somebody sitting in their ivory tower, if I may, making decisions as to what happens at the ground level, in front of a patient, in front of a client, where that's not the world they live in every day, yet they're dictating behavior.
Yep.
And so I totally agree with your philosophy, where you empower people who are in front of the patient to make decisions.
Yeah.
And they're strong professionals. They're well equipped to make those decisions, most of the time anyway.
Yeah, it's harder though. It's a harder thing to do because it's unorthodox, and it's so much easier in the short run just to tell people what to do. Like, people come to me like, what should I do? And when you tell people what to do and you're doing all the talking, you're managing. But if you're asking questions and getting people to think you're leading, you're making other leaders. So the goal of a leader is to be a multiplier, make everybody better around you. And no matter what team you have, I think if I could give any advice, from my limited experience or whatever, people will tend to blame their people, like, I need new people. You don't. You just need better leadership skills.
Yeah. Well, I admire what you've done, and I'm sure it's like an iceberg, that it's what is below the surface as to what the future will bring for Spodak Dental Group and all the other people you touch in the community.
Thank you.
And I say that genuinely,
Thank you.
being someone who sees a lot of different types of businesses, from real estate to tacos to dental work, and I like to be a student of how people operate and the why that they do things. And it's why I'm here today, because I like to share these experiences with other people, because I think we all gain from that, clearly including me. It makes me a better professional to learn of these experiences and share them with other people, so that they can be better business people, whatever they do, and better human beings.
Yeah, I agree.
And make their life plan better lived. So thanks for your time, my friend.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Enjoyed it.
Appreciate it. Good stuff. Thank you.
Good.
Hope it was good.
Great chat, whether it was
Yeah.
on tape or not.